Hello, this is Isaac from Turn Sounds. Make sure you don't plug in your TV upside down.
G'day everybody, welcome to Just Keep Walking. I'm your host Ben, and in about 30 seconds we're going to chuck you straight into our interview with actor Brian Sheppard. He played Miles on episode 915 of The Walking Dead. But I just want to give you a quick heads up that because we recorded this on Instagram Live, for the first couple minutes we were just like making small talk and fixing the audio levels and stuff, so I've cut out a couple minutes at the start, so if it seems a bit abrupt, that's why. But Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a really fascinating and fun interview just to hear about all his experiences on set, working with the actors, working with the crew, what it was like to, film things last minute, have to drive a horse carriage, all these crazy things that he got up to. So, Brian, thank you so much. And everyone who's listening, I really hope you enjoyed the interview. It was a fun one. So, enjoy. So, for those of you watching who aren't familiar or who maybe haven't seen the episode in a while, Miles opens up the episode in a very happy way, and then you also played as well the Whisperer later in the episode, is that right? Who
I did, yeah.
Wore your own skinned face.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a bit about that? How did that work as far as makeup and everything goes?
Well, it was a surprise. I didn't know that I was going to do it. And yeah, most, not only with Walking Dead, with other productions like a Marvel production or whatever, you may show up and have no clue what you're doing up until like maybe the night before. On my last show, it was the day of. Okay. I didn't even have a script until the day of. So this was the Whisperer was kind of a secret, and I show up and I had already filmed Miles over the course of like 2.5 days.
Okay.
And then they say, hey, since you're here and we have you for X amount of time, what do you say about doing this as well and playing the guy who killed you?
Interesting.
As well, even though you're going to be kind of wearing your own face. So, and I was so thrilled to be there. So I said, I'll do whatever you want. You can put whatever makeup on me you need. So it was Kevin Wasner did the makeup, and he's done a lot of the makeup throughout the whole series.
Right.
Him and his wife Karen, and they're amazing. And 9 hours later, or 8 hours later, I think.
Oh wow.
they had finished. Yeah, I mean it was piece by piece. We started at like 7 or 8 in the morning, and they shaved my face. And then they go ahead and then they cut little pieces of latex, and they build your face back on as a big white mold, piece by piece, and then they rebuilt my mustache and my facial hair, little bit by little bit, and then they come through with like a spray, like kind of a spray. They have a whole spray paint kind of setup there because everything is spray painted, or airbrush, I should say, and they come in and they airbrush all the details on. And then when you get on set and in between takes is when they cover you with blood and get you like dripping wet and stuff. You can't really see it in the scene, but I've got blood all over the place.
Okay.
It was almost starting to freeze. It was cold out, and there were just the gallons of blood. It was nuts. Wow. So, yeah, it was cool. The only thing is that it's really hard to eat in those things. So you have to kind of, you kind of have to use a spoon or something and drop it down your throat. Because I have this big funnel-shaped face thing on, and it's not conducive to eating at all.
I can imagine.
So,
Well,
but it was cool. It was really cool.
Well, that perfectly answers pretty much my question. I was going to ask, was it actually molded off your face, the mask that you wore? Yeah. But then I have a follow-on question from that then. So obviously the really important, not that you're not important, but like Alpha's mask and stuff, someone that you really need to recognize the actual mask of the person it came off. But the other not so notable ones where they're taking their masks on and off, of course it's not as, they don't have to be quite as delicate,
Right.
So is that a completely different sort of makeup?
Yeah, absolutely. There's two different from what I saw. And, given I was only in a Whisperer scene for a night, it's very quick. So I'm sure there's more to it than this. But there are the things for everyone in the background. You have large groups, and it's the same for the walkers, walkers and Whisperers. You can think of it as one and the same. And they have these kind of pullover basic masks that are really just like big rubber heads that are, and then they're painted maybe with black or certain things around the edges, and then a lot of the detail, what little detail there may be, is put on in post. So, and unless it's one of your main kind of face-to-face walkers that you're really, really close to, that is in the scene that's getting killed, there's almost no detail going on. And the ones that are close up are the ones who are going to spend all day in a booth getting built piece by piece. And that's real. I mean, there's the special effects may be CGI'd as far as like limbs being cut off and stuff, but what you see of a lot of the actual detail of the walkers close up, and the guts and the blood and organs moving and stuff, totally real.
Interesting.
These guys they're the best of the best. It's pretty trippy. And when you see it firsthand, it's kind of wild to see a zombie. It's a real zombie, 100%. Sure. But I'll tell you, with Alpha and some of the lead Whisperer kind of characters, some of those masks are only partially built. So it looks like, you see these people with a mask that's really only half their face, and then they keep the rest of their face. So some of it is really them, unlike my character, which had a complete head on, so that's how they're a little more recognizable.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Interesting.
So, yeah, but it's cool, and it's wild to see fields of walkers walking with the big rubber heads on that are just kind of white, really basic. And you see like 100 of them walking around, and then when you see it in on your television, it's pretty damn convincing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, definitely.
I got to ask now, when you mentioned that it was hard to eat, is that something that people would film just to get some laughs? Just people in Whisperer outfits trying to eat food?
Yeah, they should. Well, I wish I had. I have some behind the scenes footage, not really footage, because you're not allowed to tape anything. I wasn't really even supposed to take photos.
Wow.
So like in my trailer, I would take like photos of myself throughout the process. Like I have like step by step of the makeup, or things like that. I'm never allowed to really post it, but I have it. And so I wish, because there are times when you see pretty surreal things on a set like that, on any set, where you wish you could videotape it for the world, like me trying to have a smoothie at lunch next to Norman Reedus while I'm sitting here with a smoothie, and I can't quite operate the straw, and you have to kind of pour it, and you really want solid food, because the days are long. It's you're there at 7 a.m. and you leave at 3 o'clock the next morning, and it's a lot of you're hungry all the time, and you couldn't touch anything unless it was like soup, and then something you could drink, because it's just not like trying to eat that, and then if you mess up the makeup, you're in trouble. So because somebody just worked really hard on that. So
I can imagine. Yeah,
it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
So, were you a fan of the show before you got the role, or
Huge.
Okay,
huge.
Awesome.
Bigger than all three of you guys combined.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. No, I was obsessed with the show. I kind of avoided it for about 3 or 4 years because everybody loved it. So I was like, just how I felt with Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones, I got away 7 years without touching it, right?
Oh,
wow. I was like, everyone likes it, so it's got to be kind of like something's got to be stupid about it. And I was grumpy about it. I was like, this is gonna be dumb. And then and I'd seen the first episode. It didn't click with it, and it doesn't with so many people. And I went back maybe, 4 years ago, and I rewatched the first episode, and something about the sentimentality of it caught me. And I binge watched that series. As I watched, I think at that time there was like six seasons or seven seasons. I went through it and I binged them in like 2 days.
Wow.
I mean, it was crazy. It was my obsession, and it was the only time in my life where I have sat here on this couch and said, everybody shut up, turn off the lights. Walking Dead's coming on. We have to see what happens. I never thought I would be on it. You never do with stuff that's that big. But I was obsessed. Absolutely. And I think it was mainly Norman Reedus.
Right.
That kind of caught me. He was probably the reason I started watching in the first place.
Yeah, boy.
Because of Boondock Saints.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the second person.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
It's one of the best independent films I have ever seen.
I've said this to everybody. Okay, go.
Yep. Even part 2, it's got some good stuff in it too. So I came to it mainly for him, and because I had kind of been interested in Andrew Lincoln a little bit for a while. So I gave it a chance. I got hooked. And I kind of said, if there's any way I always joked that I was like, if there's any way I could fit into it, it would only be as like Norman Reedus's like little brother, right? Because we look the same, we're the same height, true. There's a similarity, and people had always said, oh, you should play the little brother, which they'll never be. That's not a real idea. But I really wanted to do that, and then all of a sudden I start getting auditions for it, and then I started watching it for a different reason, Pay attention to the tone, all the finer nuances, because I said one day this could now actually be a possibility. Now I have to watch it as study material.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
And when pardon me, when you were auditioning, did you know that you were auditioning for a part, like a very small part in the series, that your character was going to be finished? No, okay.
No. I've read for the show probably about 20 times. Over the course of 3 years, maybe, without getting a role. I didn't get a role 19 times, 18 times, something. It was quite a bit. But I was reading stock scenes, and so they weren't real characters. I knew that.
Oh, okay.
You're reading just so they can kind of get an idea of who you are, but you have no idea if these are real lines, if these are real characters. You just kind of send these basic, very generic tapes in. And I knew that. So a lot of cluelessness. And then at some point, it was, I guess it was about a week before I shot the scene, I get an audition, and I'm at work at the restaurant, because I work at I used to be a bartender. And so I'm shaking drinks, and it's like midnight, and I get a tape that's due the next morning. And it's a different tape. The scenes are, they're longer. There's more than one. It's not just a half-page little blip that I had already read. I had filmed the same scene so many times, and it wasn't that scene. So I said, something's up here. This is kind of special, and it was a scene where the role actually fit me. Whereas before it was like some old guy like in a jail cell or whatever. This one, I was like, this could be a real role. This might be this might not be a dummy scene. And I film it. I send it off at like 4 a.m, crash. And I wake up around noon the next day, and my phone is blowing up. And it was my agent. And that's when I found out that it was not a fake scene, and that this was a real role, and that I needed to be in Atlanta in like 8 hours.
Wow. And
so to get on a plane, so I went right to the airport and flew out, and but that's all I knew. I had an idea. I was thinking that it was a real scene, and then I didn't get the scenes, the 3 scenes that I filmed. I didn't get the hard copies until the night before.
Wow.
Yeah, totally. It's completely locked down, so that the plot doesn't get out, and you don't share any like proprietary secrets or anything.
Yeah, sure. So. No, that makes sense. Hey? So that must have been amazing then, being a big fan. I just love that, you kept trying, hey, keep getting different auditions and stuff like that. That's amazing. So what was the reaction then when you actually got into the role? Like that must have just been crazy.
I think the initial reaction was I sat in my bedroom shaking for a while. I called everybody, I called the people I was allowed to call and tell, because it's still kind of a secret at that point. And then I just remember trying to figure out how to use my phone and buy a plane ticket while shaking. because it was such a big deal, and said, "Oh my gosh, I got to get down there. I got to go right now." I couldn't think straight, and I kind of thought I was getting punked a little bit. Like this was some freaking like a joke. Like something could still fall through, because up until you shoot a scene in any show, you can always be cut. I've been cut before I've ever shown up.
Wow.
And so I said, like, is this real? What's going on? Is it April Fool's Day? And and then the experience of pulling yourself together and saying, okay, I still have to do my job. It's not unlike anything I filmed before. It's still it's still acting. I can do this, and then it gets really surreal again when you walk on set and you see all these people for the first time that you, that you watch and you dream of meeting, and there you are, like having a smoothie, and holding a gun to their face, like you do. It never stopped being surreal, and even now I watch it, and I can't watch it. It sends chills down my spine to look at it.
Wow,
that's amazing. Yeah. Sweet. Well, what would be a few of your favorite moments from the set then? Feel free to just run us through. Any standouts.
The moment when I'm in the makeup trailer, I show up on set and I had no idea where I was going. It's filmed. Everyone knows this. It's not a secret. So it's filmed. Kind of their home base is really where they filmed Terminus. Mm-hmm. So that's a real structure, and that's kind of like that's the nucleus of the set. And then of course you may move around to location. So I show up, and I didn't know where anything was. It's a really big place, and there's lots of big trailers, and studios here in New York tend to be in a studio lot, a studio space, and so it's very easy. You know where to go. People meet you, they take care of you. This one is like trailers and like an old abandoned like warehouse. And then the RV that they used to shoot in is there. So I was like, whoa, this is kind of trippy. I just parked my car, and I kind of got in trouble because I'm going up to the wrong trailers trying to get in, and some old guy wrangles me in, and points me in the right direction. And so there I am getting my fitting done like 2 or 3 days before shooting. And I'm sitting in my chair, and I got my hair down, and they're looking at stuff and trying to make me dirty for a test, for like a screen test, so that Greg Nicotero could approve the look. And I look over, and you look over here, and there's Michonne sitting next to you, having the wig put on, and then you turn to and then I'm with Carolyn Duncan, who plays my wife in the episode, and I didn't know it yet, so I didn't know at the time that she was my wife, or that I had a wife, or really what the scene was about entirely. So here we are, kind of awkward. I didn't know who she was. She didn't know who I was, or why I was wasting my time being there. And then you have Michonne there, and then you have Norman Reedus suddenly walk through the trailer. So the initial moments I will never forget, because it's the first time you feel like you're on kind of a similar level as other people.
Yeah.
And here you are doing something very mundane, like getting your hair brushed side by side, and like reading lines, and trying to drink a coffee, discussing your day. It's just kind of a surreal experience the first time that happens on any set, even if you've done it before. So that was one. I would say another really big one was my first day of shooting. We shot on we were getting ready for the night shoot for the Whispers.
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was the last scene that I shot, and I shot it right before I flew out. So I shot it, and I ended at 1 a.m., and I was at the airport flying to New York at like 3 a.m. And so it was a really long day, and I show up really early in the morning. It was on Tyler Perry's set, or his lot, because we shot there, and I walk out. I'm sitting in my trailer, and I have like 5 hours to kill with nothing to do. It's really cold out, and I'm trying to get a coffee, and I walk out of my little trailer, box of doom, and there is Norman Reedus standing in front of me, and that was probably the highlight of my career. But I was in the Whisper makeup part of it, so I didn't meet him as me. I met him as like half made up, looking like, and he was just like, man, that is fucking crazy. That looks sick. And he was like playing with my jaw. And as the day got on, I had more and more pieces put on, but it took a while. So I meet him in this state of disarray. I never got to meet him as me.
Right.
And say, hey, I'm gonna fangirl here a little bit over you. I never had that experience. I just kind of stood there with my weird jaw on the floor and like, crazy makeup saying, this is one of the idols of my career.
Do you know what you should have done, seeing as you do look like him? When you met him in makeup, you should have said to him that you're the Walker version of him. He would have freaked out and be like, you know what? They're killing me.
The directors didn't tell you, man.
Yeah. I wish I would have thought of that. Damn it. Yeah, it was crazy. That was crazy. That's like, the scenes with Caroline and the stuff at the hilltop, which is like, we're only in the show briefly, but that and the stuff in the woods, all that is pretty like, you're kind of you're in a small group of people. You're kind of kept away. You're not going to see a lot of people unless you're back at like, you're eating lunch or stuff and stuff. You're not going to see other like big actors around. That's also miles from home base. And from that part of their base, because they have multiple kind of like headquarters around Atlanta.
Right.
And so where they shoot this is in a small town far away. It's like an hour away. And so, those things, it was just me and Caroline, and you're kind of doing your own thing. And then it wasn't until the last day where you really start to see like all the really big celebrities walking around. And so I was almost done by the time all that stuff hit. So it was a big deal that I was on set, and like there's the hilltop that's real, and like there's the prison, or there's the junkyard, which are real sets. They're real full size sets, in a big lot. And then you get over that shock, and as you're coming down, then you walk out, and there is Gabriel, or Michonne, or Yumiko, or any of these people in the flesh. And it kind of hit, and that was like my farewell. Was the last night I was there, was when I'm standing there with the entire cast, in one room. And so it was like, holy cow, this is the moment. And then I get on a plane and I come home. So two of the days were kind of kept alone, and we did our own thing in a very close, small set. And then comes the big moment of meeting everybody in this mask. There I am with Carol but I'm in a mask, and I can't say anything, and I'm not really supposed to talk to her anyway. So you kind of fangirl out in this weird setup.
That is amazing though, and really, like, what better role could you ask for? How many other roles do you get to do so much different stuff in one episode? Like, you're in a montage where you get to be fighting zombies, all these different costume changes, hilltop set, and then you go and hold a gun to like half the main cast. That's it's incredible. Hey.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. And I tell you, there are time limits to when you can film, and I remember that was one of the pretty intense moments. There's only 2 times on set where it was like, you have to get this right, and if you don't get it right, we're in trouble.
Right. Okay.
Because when you're done, you're done. And then everything starts getting into major overtime. And now you've got to pay like 200 actors, like all, everybody on set and all the crew, a lot of money, minute by minute. And so you get these penalties. And so, you have a thing called meal penalty. Well, you have to eat by a certain time. And you have certain things you have to do by certain times of the day, to keep everybody happy. And twice we got into things where they said to me, Brian and Cass, you have to get this right, and if you don't, we're in deep shit. And we may even have to stop and come back another day, which is when you really get into trouble, when you're adding days onto your schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you can imagine at that kind of cost. And so one was the wild thing of when we were in the horse carriage. It seems like a very small moment, but like we jump in the carriage to go to the fair, and we drive off into the sunset, right? It's really cute and everything's happy.
Oh.
But the scene, we're in a carriage with these 2 horses, and normally stunt guys kind of drive them. They're laying in the back, and everything is for safety's sake, obviously, there's someone, a professional, controlling the whole operation, right, on any set. But they weren't reacting to these commands. And so they said, Brian, we have only about 10 minutes left. We have to get the scene right. We're going to give you a 5-minute primer on how to drive 2 horses in a carriage and 3 actors in the car with you, with Caroline next to me and the 2 awesome dudes in the back. And you've got to do this. And you only get 1 shot. So they gave me a primer to like have the commands and these reins, and we're in Hilltop. So the gates around Hilltop are real. They're all telephone posts, and it's a big double gate, right? It's a big thin, like 3-story tall, like gate that you go through, and you have to drive them through this thing at full speed. And we did it. And I'll tell you, there's nothing scarier than having no help, no backup, and going full speed on this big carriage through those gates. And it even looked slow in the thing, but we were going so fast, and they're so powerful. And I'd never done it before. I'd never even ridden a horse. So I had no idea what was going on. And these draft horses book it, and they make it right through. They do their own thing. They go down. They were doing their own thing, and I'm trying to control these things. So and we got it. We had 1 take left, and it was the one that made the final cut. And they said, because we're losing the light, and we're about to lose our light, we're going to end the day. And if we didn't have light, we're fucked, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so that was one that was really exciting, the moments that you never forget. And the other one was the final moment with the Whisperers and how everybody comes, and it's, you realize it's an ambush. And we all step out, and we're encircling them. And the scene was shot, all in the dark. It was a night shoot in the woods. And it was starting to rain. And because it was going to rain, that was going to ruin all of the effects and stuff going on. And we were getting really late. So we had one more shot to get it right. And it was one of the above shots where they were actually standing on a ladder shooting from above, where you get the image of all of the dead walkers and Whisperers and such after they had kind of fought them off. And, they're all like back to back, right? And we come out of the woods. And they shot the initial image from above. And that was the final image of the episode. And when we got that, we were done filming, and the rain was getting crazier, and we had like 1 more take to get it right. And it was just giving us so much trouble because there's so many people involved. And they got it right at the last second, like down to the last third. They were counting down. They're like, we have 60 seconds left to get this shot right.
Wow.
We got out. So, yeah, it's intense. It's really intense. So.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that's when you say you better hope you have your together, and you get it right.
Oh, absolutely, awesome.
Yeah.
So it was Laura Belzy who directed the episode, right? And I think I saw that was her first episode that she directed on the show. Sort of thrown into this massive one. And I believe she's coming back to do 3 of or at least a few of the new ones that are coming out, sort of the next 6, from what I've seen. But could you tell us a bit of sort of what she was like to work with, or even just the crew in general?
Yeah, I had an interview the other day, and where somebody asked me the same question, and it seemed I realized, what was so unique about this crew in general. And it's that it's such a family. Yeah, so when you're there, everybody, all the working parts, even the new folks, like, it was my first day, but it was also Laura's first day of actual production.
Okay.
I'm sure she was there for weeks planning and doing stuff with writers and things. She may have had like a couple more days on set than I did, but we were all under the same amount of pressure. We're all there, and it's like, okay, this is the first thing in the morning, and we're in the woods stabbing zombies. And this is where like everyone starts to kind of say, well, I'm here, and I'm good enough to be here, and I'm not going to hit all my marks. And so there's a lot of pressure and nerves going into the first like take. There always is. And Laura handled it, with such. She's a pro. She's done so many other things. She's done more episodes since then, but she also did Arrow. She's like one of the major directors of Arrow. Yeah. Her career is immense. And she is so focused, and she's such a kind of a powerful woman and a powerful female director, that she comes in and she takes complete control, and she knows exactly what she wants. within the bounds of the show. Directors never get a ton of say. Like, they're not going to recreate the show, but they do have a certain amount of flexibility in what comes out, and then they have direct control over us.
Yeah.
And so she can kind of come down to eye level and say, this is kind of what I need for you to do. But she knew exactly what she wanted, and she would say, this is what I want, and I want you're gonna get dial this back 25%, dial this up 30%, try it again, go. You do it again. She goes back in, says, no, not what I want. Change it again, and you maybe do 3 or 4 takes, and she says, cool, I got what I need. So she's a taskmaster. There's no sitting there getting really heady about this or this. Like, some directors take their time. She says, no, I want this and I want this. And you try maybe 4 or 5 takes, and then you're done. So she is on the ball, and she handles it extremely well. She's a professional. The rest of the crew and the cast, because they had been there for so long, you walk into a family.
Yeah.
You walk into family vacation. Everyone, no one's in a hurry. They've been there for, at that point, 9 seasons. So they're tired. Like, a lot of the lead actors are just tired. They're tired. They're like, we've been doing this for so damn long. But the DPs on set, you have multiple teams on a show like this. So not only do you have the crew for our episode, but you have, at the same time, they're filming another episode. Like, we're walking in between each other's sets, and they're filming other things at the same time, right? A lot of shows do that. They compress for the sake of money and time. And so we keep walking in between people and being like, who's this? I don't know if they're in my episode. And it's like, no, it's a totally different cast. That, it's like Sarah Morton's walking around. And it's like, oh, she's not really filming anything for us. She's filming, maybe the actual fair scenes or something else with the other cast, with the other team. And so you have quadruple of everything. You have 4 cameramen, 5 cameramen. You have 2 directors. You have 2 of this. Everyone's walking around the same set. And they were so kind. They were so used to being there, and everybody was so helpful. They weren't, it's a very stressful situation, especially as a new guy coming in who's not a big name. I have no power. Nobody knows who I am. I'm lucky just to get a Coke on time, or like a meal. I'm just happy for that, right? And they were, if I messed up, like I've fucked up my line so many times because I was terrified that I was sitting there on this set, right? And they would come up and they would just be like, don't worry about it. Like, this is how the line really goes. I'm speaking in tongues, and they're like, don't worry, this is how it goes. Try it again. If you don't get it right, it's no big deal. And I'm sitting here like freaking out. And so they were really, really welcoming. Everybody was really welcoming, as much as they could be. Even like lead actors, as tired and as kind of fed up as they are of being on the set for the 100,000th hour of the day, there's delusional by that point. Everybody was really kind, and they, you can tell that this is a labor of love, even some of the newer people, the alpha beta equation had just come in when I showed up. So they were the new kind of celebrities on set, and you have, and both celebrities in their own right. Especially on the British stage.
For sure.
And which is kind of cool. And they were really, really well taken care of, and they were warm, and everybody's playing games and joking around on set and things like that. And I didn't feel like an outsider. There's been other times where I kind of feel intimidated by these people, and this is very much the kind of place where people put their arm around you and say, let's go, we're going to have fun. Cool. We're making a zombie show after all. Like, it's the end of the world. No big deal. Like, let's have some fun. And so they're so creative. And so it's very warm and welcoming. And I remember the DPs being the most, because they have so much control over what's happening when they're behind the camera. And they have probably more control than anyone as far as what you're really going to see, other than the editor, right? And so these guys, who are really big, imposing dudes, were the kind of they had been there since day one, and they're very much the kind of people that really direct you and say, relax, it's okay, let's have fun. This looks really good. I like what I'm seeing. You're doing this, which is really nice. So they have a really good way of kind of calming the situation down for everybody and being really positive, and telling you exactly what they want. And that's very important,
Oh, for sure.
I know I'm rambling about it, but
good.
the whole thing is that they're a family, and that's what I miss about it. You dream about working with people like that, because there's other sets that I've been on that are not like that, where you're like, they don't care. I was just on one in September. Given I only had a few lines, it's a new project coming out. I had a few lines on a really big show that's about to come out, and they didn't give a shit who I was. It was like Spear Carrier #1, and I was brought in, and no one gave two shits. And that was the opposite of Walking Dead or Law and Order or something, where they really put their arm around you and say, let's go. You're part of the team. You're part of our family now.
That's really great to hear that they were able to achieve both the friendly, caring about everyone, as well as getting things done on time and being efficient. Like, to have that balance and gel of both is, that's really great to see that they've been able to find that.
Absolutely. I think working for that long together too, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
If you're going to be stuck, you're in close quarters with these people for a long time. You better get along.
Yeah.
That's actually why they killed off the main cast, right? They just didn't get along with it.
Yeah. Well, and people, not that I have any say or that I knew what was coming. At the time, obviously we knew that there were movies in the works, and Andrew had already left, but a lot of the people were still there. A good portion of the people were still there. Maggie had yet to come back. Yeah. Which sucked, because I really wanted to meet Lauren Cohen really bad. But they were just starting to kind of depart. So like while I was there was like whispers around set. It's like, who's going to be gone next week? Who's going to be gone the week after? What crew members are going to go to the movie? It was just kind of like little tidbits coming in, and like whispers, and lots of angst about who was staying and who was going to have to stay in this world and who was going to go on to the movie world, which is a totally different animal, right?
Yeah, right.
To film a movie and the pace is so much more luxurious. To film a TV show is brutal on people. It's a lot of work, and for everybody, it's the crew most of all, and the designers and the creative staff live with it for even longer than the actors. And so, that's 16-hour days for 8 months straight or 9 months straight, 6 days a week or whatever. And so it was kind of like, who's going to go into the movies and have the good life, and who's going to stay here and work their asses off. And you could tell it was going to kind of come down to Carol and Daryl at the time. You knew it. You kind of felt it, that people were kind of falling off.
Interesting.
To be taken on. I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was cool. It was really unique, and it worked like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
They filmed 2 episodes at one time.
That's amazing.
Like butter.
Takes
it's nothing. Yeah, most scenes are filmed in like 2 or 3 hours, which is quick. Other shows, I was on a show once where it took, we were there for 2 weeks, and I barely got through 2 scenes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was, I filmed my material, my little tiny quick material, in a day.
Right.
One full day of real filming, So.
Yeah, interesting. Hey.
It's pretty wild. It's quick. I don't know.
Oh, that's cool. I was going to ask about the very opening shot of the episode is you running and attacking this walker, and you guys are fighting off walkers. What was the sort of process like of dealing with the stunt guys or whoever was playing the walkers? Did you have to be careful to sort of hit them in the right spot, or did they just say go for it, or how did that work?
Well, you have stunt guys around all the time to keep things safe, and people that can be your body double as well. I always have, in the last two or three things I've shot, I've had like a body double for stunt scenes, because they're never sure if you're going to be willing to do your own kind of stabbing and jabbing and jumping and whatever. then they never know. And I like to do it myself, so it sucks for them because they have less to do. But they'll come in, kind of show you the marks, which are really felt, figured out, in the moment. You have an idea of what the shot is going to look like. Sometimes it's even based off the comic, right? Off of the graphic novel for this, and for my last one, it's definitely based off of a graphic novel or a comic. And so they have an idea of maybe an iconic image they want to get or an overall picture, but the fine details you don't know until you get there. And so, because you don't know where you're going to shoot, it's felt out in the moment. And they said, well, let's move it over here and by this tree, and then maybe we'll carry it over here. And so you step through it briefly with the walkers and with the stunt guys to make sure things are safe. Mm-hmm. And they give you your prop knife, which has no blade. It's a green nubby thing because they're gonna CG. The knife is CGI'd, right? So you have and this happens in a lot of shows, so it's no secret. But they have a blade that's cut off after an inch. It's a rubber handle, and then it's got a little piece of green tape. And they say, okay, well, you're gonna come up here. He's gonna come at you here for the first shot, and you're just gonna run at him and aim for the head. And so really, you're actually aiming next to the head. And so they mark it, and you do it at 5% speed. And then every time you do it after that, you build up in your energy and your speed until you get it to about 80%, which about as max as you can do on camera.
Right.
Because otherwise it's too fast. Nothing is ever really full speed. And so you get it up to par, and then they go ahead and then they'll do some rehearsals of just that little tiny bit. And then you'll shoot it. And so each part of the little fight until they get the wide shot is really pieced together. So you're only worried about that moment, and then you forget about it, and then you may do the next part where the walker's coming at me, and they'll shoot that 20 times, and then Caroline comes in and hits them. They'll do that. And so it's really piece by piece. They may do one master wide shot of the whole fight, but I don't think for that one we did. I think the longest shot was the part where Caroline and I were talking to each other. The rest was done in 2 rehearsal shots in 2 takes or 3 takes, and then we moved on. The whole thing was done in maybe an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was all handheld, so there was no tripods, there was no crane. It was just one steady cam. I think it was a single camera format over our shoulders. So it was very guerrilla style, pieced together in the moment. And then and for that was another one where we had walkers who had the kind of the loose mask on, and they were not detailed. And in the episode, they're very detailed. But what we saw was 2 dudes in a really loose rubber mask with no blood and guts, really, and it was all very clean and not scary. And I was like, I don't know what this is going to look like. And when I sat here on my couch right here watching it for the first time, that's when I really saw I had no idea what it was going to turn out to be.
Wow.
And it was really impressive compared to other scenes where they looked like the real thing. So that was also kind of surreal to say, well, this is also my first walker. I am on the set. It's your indoctrination. Here's your first walker kill. And you're kind of working with these stuntmen in these big padded suits that you can beat up and throw around and throw up against trees and stuff, So that was awesome. I don't know if that answered your question, but it's kind of pieced together little by little compared to other fights that I've done where it's been 15 minutes or 5 minutes straight of just beating the shit out of each other. And you do 800 takes. This is very, very careful, very thought through, and because a lot of it is also done on CGI, so there's a lot that you don't do in person,
Sure, yeah.
That you don't worry about. A lot of it's added later. A lot of the stuff that would choke you up if it was in real time, like the blood and the guts on some sets where they're doing it in real time. For some of those scenes, like the stabbing of the heads and stuff, that comes a month later in post. So you're not taking time to put new blood on people, clean stuff up.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's much faster.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
imagine.
there's not a lot of working parts, sound effects, none of that. You do that later.
Yeah, right.
Or they do that long after you're forgotten.
Oh, that's very cool. Sweet. Well, we're getting up to about an hour, so we'll probably wrap it up in a few minutes.
Sure.
But any last questions you guys had? Yes. And Brian, if there's anything else that you wanted to chat about, then go for it. Absolutely. Oh, Isaac first.
Yeah, I got. First of all, to hear that you took a 5-minute crash course on how to drive some horses, that's pretty impressive, and that's very commendable there. Perhaps if you'd had more than that, then you might have been able to get away from Alpha and not be skinned. But I did actually want to ask. Suppose if it was ever you were ever approached and said, "Would you like to work with us again on Walking Dead?" I don't know. Perhaps Miles had like a twin brother or something with, maybe without the hair or shaven or something like that. Is that something like in a heartbeat you'd go back into, or what? What do you reckon?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't care. They can make me an elephant.
Yeah.
or a purple dinosaur.
Yeah.
I don't care. I would work in any capacity. I would go back and I would work for free.
Wow. Don't say that. Not on the record here.
Off the record.
Yeah. Well, for those people, those creative minds and stuff, and awesome people, I would be on set with them for free any day. I was just happy to sit and watch.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I would go back as a walker number 120 in the background. Absolutely, any day.
Yeah.
I loved it. I that was my dream. One of the bucket list roles or productions of my life.
That's amazing. Hey.
So, yeah, in a heartbeat. When I originally I was kind of thinking I would never have a shot at Walking Dead, but maybe I would have one on Fear.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know it gets bad raps from like hardcore Walking Dead fans, but I think after probably the first 2 seasons, Fear got really quite good for quite a while.
I can even see some people watching in the chat here who I know are very big fans of Fear. So yeah, there's certainly plenty of people.
I have a really good friend on Fear. My friend Coleman is on Fear, and I always kind of was hoping, well, maybe I'll get in because I'll be able to work with Coleman, which would be a dream. And I love Fear because I think pound for pound, they have so many more talented, understated performers now than Walking Dead does. And they're not going through cast so quick. And I think that they're such a powerhouse, and they really captured the genre of the Western so well when they had that major shift. And that was really sexy to me. And so I said, well, maybe I'll have a shot on that because it's newer. It doesn't have the steam. So they may take someone that's of my low caliber on that. Whereas Walking Dead will never take me. Because I'm not enough of a name for them to care. And so that was originally what I kind of was thinking eventually. Is like I kind of gave up on Walking Dead in a way and said, well, I'm really working to try to get into Fear. Eventually, that's where I stand a shot. Plus, I get to work with people that I've worked with before, and people that I love. And I would, that's more likely to happen than this really popular, crazy zombie show.
Right.
Filmed down south. So I was wrong.
Yeah. I'm sure you're happy to be wrong for that one.
Yeah.
Pleasant surprise.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
My last question then, I was curious to know, did you end up getting the little hilltop coins? Did you end up getting to keep any as a memento?
Ooh, good one.
No.
Really?
No, let me think. No. And I say, I don't think you ever really get to keep anything from a set. And maybe if you're a big name and you could say, give me that's mine, 'cause you practically run the show, sure. But, I've never been in a show outside of live theater where I've been able to keep anything.
Yeah, fair.
And it's not, and I don't think it's they may use the prop later. And in that one, I think they did use those props later on in the episode. And they filmed some of that when I was gone. I think, or I wasn't on set for like Caroline's thing where they find her scalped, right?
Yeah.
And there's the box tipped over and whatever. So they use those pieces again, which is a reason why I definitely couldn't. I think Caroline may have been given one to bring home. The one that I gave her. But I'm not sure. I haven't talked to her in a few months. So yeah. But usually they don't. And the reason why is often because of the plot. They don't want it getting out in photos of what the plot may be.
Sure.
Yeah. That these are proprietary, maybe in a new show that's not based on other content, but like anything like that, or anything for like other comic book stuff, like Marvel Productions, you can't talk about it. You can't post photos.
Yeah.
You know, you're not even supposed to tell people. I can't even put some of that stuff in my resume until it airs.
Wow.
So like I can't tell you the next show I'm on until the night that it's on TV.
That's crazy.
It's frustrating. It sucks, but because I want to scream it to the world, or like at least put it on my damn like website or whatever. But you can't say anything about it. So I think that's really the reason they kind of want to like. I would have loved it like kept my clothes, or you know, my knife or something like that would have been really special, or the Hilltop coins would have been so cool, or you know, even the mask. We were thinking maybe I could keep the mask. Because that was the end of the mask.
It's not going to fit someone else.
Right. And I'm convinced that they probably built another full slip-on mask, because I have a feeling it appeared in another episode after that.
Okay.
Some people have sent me some shots. I think it did in the background. Like they do think through that stuff, saying, ooh, we might sneak it in just to kind of tease people. They think like that, you know? Maybe I could tease that character later on for something else, and I thought that might be also my way back into the show. In my selfish little mind, but it didn't. It all fell apart and ripped off, and they threw it all away. And I was like, maybe I could keep like because part of it was like an apparatus that was put on the lower jaw, and I was like, well, maybe I could at least keep part of the mask that didn't get ripped to pieces as they like cut it off of me. And I couldn't even do that. Like, wow. You want to sneak things. I have the script in the other room. I keep like my little sides and stuff.
Oh, nice.
But not much else. So like I had to go to the souvenir store. You know, in that town where they film, there's a museum, a really cool museum, and it has like a gift shop with all the like the official licensed stuff.
Yeah, right.
And then in the lower level they have like a museum of like all the pieces and parts and stuff, and you can see like the real Negan bat.
Whoa,
or whatever, or like whatever. You can see all that kind of stuff. Mainly from earlier episodes, because some of it they still use. But you'll see costumes of like, you know, I think Glenn's stuff is there from Glenn's final scenes.
Right.
Stuff like that they don't need anymore. Like, you know, parts of the jail are there. In this little town, and so I had to go there and buy stuff to remember my time there, because I'm on set for like days and days, and you know, it's a couple days, and I had to drive through the town for fitting, so I would go a few hours early to walk through the souvenir shop. So I bought like a coffee mug and like a beer mug, and then I bought a poster, you know, and it's all stuff anybody can buy on eBay, but like it's what I wanted. I wanted something, because I knew I wasn't getting swag. Because I couldn't tell anybody that I was there in the first place. So
that would have been tough, I'm guessing. You're like, oh, you're a fan of The Walking Dead? You have no idea, love. I'm about to go shoot it. Was that in your mind?
Oh my gosh. And, you know, and like I'm sitting there, and there's a coffee shop, a really cool coffee shop in the town and I'm sitting there like eating soup, and I'm just kind of like, and I'm reading my script, and I had to kind of keep it hidden. And then I'm looking there, and like, and it's funny because then I'm sitting there eating, and a guy sits at the table with me, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, hey, I just want to tell you, I'm one of the writers on the show, and I just came out of a meeting, and we're talking about you, and I just wanted to say how happy we are that you're here, and we've been dreaming about you for this character for like a few weeks now, and or a week or two, and we're really excited to have you here. Thank you so much. And that was like it's also weird to be like recognized in public, because that doesn't happen. So it was kind of cool in this little one horse town that like that happened. But we're sitting here whispering about the episode because no one else can hear about what it's, you know, what it's about. It's like, oh, you know, I wish we didn't have to kill you off, you know. And at the time, and I'm like, really? I didn't even know I was getting killed off yet. So that's where I found out that what was happening is we're eating like soup and having a mocha, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not staying any longer.
Oh, no.
Bittersweet, you know. But you know, you have to buy your swag to take home, so because you're not allowed to keep anything. I'll send it to you privately. I have like a few photos from like behind of me and like getting the makeup done.
Oh, nice.
Or something. you know, or like the set, like you sneak a photo of like your chair when no one's watching. You have like the chair and on the back of the chair it says The Walking Dead.
Oh,
And that was like, you want it, but you could be sued for that.
Wow.
So you kind of like sneak a photo and hide your phone and turn it back off so it doesn't go off during your scene. You know, it's crazy. You know.
That's funny, hey? No, I like it. Awesome. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up about that. Is there anything else you wanted to add in before we
No, not at all. Thanks for letting me come on and ramble at you guys.
Thank you for joining us.
It's been great.
Really
Awesome.
appreciate it.
Really great.
Keep up the good work. I'm excited to see who you have next.
Oh, thanks.
There will be more.
Hey, go ahead and name drop somebody if you want to. Get them.
Yeah.
Well, you should have Caroline Duncan on. She played Hildy, my wife, on the episode.
Yeah.
She was awesome. She was actually on set longer than I was. She probably has more insight because she got to spend some time with Sarah Morton and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Yeah. Cool. We'll definitely flick
or hit Coleman up nonstop on Fear and get that guy on. He's the real deal. Not one of us janitors. So
if we get Coleman on, we'll be plugging you for Fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sucks. I wish, man. Now I'm done. I'm done from the franchise because they killed me off. The worst part about getting killed off is you pretty much have no way back on.
Right.
So maybe I can do voiceover in like an animated series or something.
Absolutely. Possibilities are out there, definitely.
Yeah, who knows? Whatever.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much again for coming on. We really appreciate your time. It was just awesome to have you on, and great that you're a fan of Walking Dead.
Anytime.
Well. Awesome.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for letting me talk to you. Take care and get to bed.
We'll do.
Over there.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, mate. Have a good one.
Thanks again, mate.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Thank you.